this is actually upsetting for me because I don't understand why she was allowed to stay on the case. The judge said, this is a quote, she acted with a tremendous lapse in judgment, end quote, and he found an, quote, appearance of impropriety. So why would they not be both booted from the case? I don't understand. Now, last time I was on with Megyn Kelly, we talked about this, and it was the day that I was on with her, we talked about there was a challenger who threw his hat into the ring to challenge this particular judge. And he happens to be, activist. He's African-American. He's a big-time, like, civil rights activist, BLM type things. And he threw his hat into the ring to challenge Judge Scott McAfee. And I'm just wondering how much that had to do with the judge's decision to just, like, boot Nathan Wade, but keep Fani Willis, even though he admits that her actions were improper and not correct. Like, I don't, how else do you come to that conclusion? I'm just wondering.
Yeah. And to your point, Megyn is a must listen to on the Fani Willis thing in particular. She's so great and so pumped up about it. And she, of course, knows this stuff really, really well. It's interesting because the challenger thing is Jesse Jackson acolyte. This challenger is, and it's a district where they voted, I think it's 73% for Biden. So you have a situation where his job has become very vulnerable. And if he comes and throws Fani Willis off this case, they're
going to do it. They're going to vote for the other guy anyway. That's what drives me nuts. Like,
probably, right?
If it's that heavily Democrat, it's like you're trying. I don't know. I just think Republicans so often they're like, oh, well, maybe if I play nice with them, that they'll leave me alone. No, they're not going to. They're still going to boot you out the first chance they get.
Right. And it's funny because if you read the ruling, he pretty much says he knows they lied. Like, he's like, he says something like, he said tremendous lapse in judgment and unprofessional activities. And you think, okay, he's referring to the affair. No, he's saying during the evidentiary hearing, he knows they were lying. His argument, for what it's worth, seems to be like, well, we don't have in full proof, because we have just both of them align their stories. And my job is to just rule on this thing in front of me, whether we have proof and motivation of it being financial. And I think you can argue the prime motivation with that was not financial. It was something to do in the bedroom. It was more basically they wanted to hook up with each other. So
they could have done that without her assigning him as special prosecutor.
True, although
I think they were doing that before she assigned him as special prosecutor.
That's quite clear. I think we found that out in the hearing. I think his point was just it wasn't about the money necessarily, which you could argue. Outside of that, though, he does outline 4 or 5 different organizations like the Georgia Ethics Commission that could do something about this. And a lot of those are controlled by Republicans. So, really, in Georgia, they should do something outside of this and get her pulled off of this. I don't think this is over yet. I hope it's not over. He tried, I think, in a very wishy-washy way to paint a path to do something about this, acting as if he couldn't do anything. I don't believe him on that, and I think you're right on the challenger thing, but still, I hope this can still be taken care of, but it's hard to have hope, right, in this day and age.
If it's not taken care of, maybe it's grounds for a mistrial. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but it would seem to be if there's already been impropriety going on there with the prosecution, I would think that opens things up for the Trump team. But I mean, I think they've got a good case anyway. But who knows with these particular judges and prosecutors, what's going to happen here? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it gets very depressing when you look at how much they have been able to just completely weaponize the judicial system against us.
Man.
And then they get away with seemingly murder and nothing happens to them and they just get a slap on the wrist and they get to go right back to doing whatever it was that they're doing. I mean, this is because I just want to remind everyone, this was like a separate hearing. This was just for misconduct.
Yeah.
I know she calls herself Fani.
I know.
That's much too fancy for me. I'm not going to give her the benefit.
I'm trying to cure myself of it.
Yes, Fani
Willis.
Fani Willis. It's like this was just the misconduct hearing on this matter. And not only she perjured herself multiple times. And there's just no repercussions. And it's just so frustrating because, I mean, you have people like Steve Baker who are being threatened with prison time over
Nothing.
seemingly the most boring event at the Capitol ever, acting as an independent journalist. And then you have all of these, you have a DA, a Fulton County DA, who I would say, I know you said that they make the argument that it's not the motivation was not financial. I don't know. I would say $650,000 is a lot of money to funnel to your lover who's taking you on trips.
I agree with that completely. In fact, I don't agree with his analysis. I think it was partially financial. I don't know if that was the main motivation, but giving a job to your boyfriend is kind of
He wasn't even qualified. Let's remind everyone of that. He had never tried a RICO case like this before, ever.
Right. It's just insanity.
Completely unqualified.
It's just insanity. And it does say something too, I think, interesting about her motivation, because when you have someone and we have this like with Letitia James in New York, for example, the motivation can be one of two things typically. Number one, it's ideological. They hate Donald Trump. They want to come after him. And I think that's largely Letitia James. Fani Willis, though, you don't make a mistake like this if it's ideological. If your only goal in life is to get Donald Trump removed, you don't risk an affair with your boyfriend, paying him $600,000 and taking trips with him. There's also the other motivation, which is money, is fame, and just self-importance. And I think that's where Fani Willis falls. I think she's on that side of the equation. I'm not saying she's not ideologically against Trump. She definitely is. But I think it's more motivated by that. Like, the idea that she would even testify in the first place was insane. Her own lawyers were saying, don't do it. And she's like, I'm going to get up there. I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah. And you get that sort of thing going with Fani Willis, which makes her a fantastic character. I as a person who has to generate content every day, I don't want her to go away just quite yet. I don't want her to get what she wants with Donald Trump. I want it to fall apart at the end, but let it drag on for just a little bit longer, because she's like the most fun thing to talk about in the news.
She's wearing her dress backwards.
Yes, she's wearing her dress backwards, Sarah. God, that's a gift to all of us. I remember I saw that on Twitter. I'm like, this is obviously Photoshop. She was really wearing. I asked Hillary. I said, Hillary, is she wearing her dress? She's wearing her dress backwards. It was real.
Yes, she was wearing her dress backwards.
Wow.
She doesn't know what continent she's on.
No, she doesn't know where Belize is, and she went to it.
Honestly, my takeaway from this is are we just handing out law degrees to just any old person that just walks up? It seems to be like we're handing them out like candy, because
especially if you hate Donald Trump.
Yes.
Here's a law degree. Go prosecute him for something.
You've got Kamala Harris, who's can't speak sentences coherently. You've got this chick who doesn't even know how to put on a dress. What the hell's going on in law schools?
It was fascinating when I asked Hillary about that. Hillary's the nicest person in the world.
Yeah.
And I was like, so Hillary, is she really wearing that dress backwards? She's like, well, I mean, you can have zippers in the front, but typically they'd be decorative.
Exactly. And this one was the little one that goes, in the back. So stupid. I do agree with you. It is fun for content.
She's great. I mean, this is the most entertaining thing that's happened the entire election cycle. She's completely nuts, and we're learning everything about her life. I do love that. I mean, sure, our society is falling apart as we laugh, but at least we get to laugh a little.
We do get to laugh a little bit. If you like this clip and you want to see the full episode, click here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, come on, you do. Click here.